All right, let's get this thing started. My name is John Stellman. I'm with Vince Morales and John Adams. Great to be back after a week off for the 4th of July. We always miss the studio, but it's always nice to spend time with family. I wonder what you guys did. I spent the 4th with Justin, my son, who's also our producer engineer, and his wife Kate. Went to their house in San Juan Capistrano. Kate's parents, Mike and Pam, were there. We just chilled.
Nice.
Saw some fireworks and enjoyed ourselves.
Terrific.
How about you guys?
Actually, was pretty mellow through the day, and then went to a friend's that lives right on the bluff in San Clemente, and we watched the old airplanes fly by. They have the airplane, old fighter planes come. They start at John Wayne Airport and go all the way down the coast, and saw that. And then this guy who has done quite well for himself owns a 1923 fire truck, and we got to jump in that and cruise through the streets of San Clemente, and everybody barbecuing out and waving.
That's outstanding.
And had a fun time there. But then I have to get back because my dog doesn't relate to the fireworks very well.
No, you're right about that.
I had to go back and calm him down for the evening. So we pretty much we saw it on television type of deal. So. He's kind of a freak when it comes to fireworks, like most dogs are. So that's what we did. Very, very relaxing, though. Enjoyed.
That sounds great.
Enjoyable, yeah.
So
Vince?
And I just tended to my sick dog.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah, he was puking all day because of antibiotics. It wrecked his stomach. But he's better now. So everybody can breathe a sigh of relief.
Mm-hmm.
Toby, the old and golden, is fine.
Before we get started, I again want to remind our listeners, be on the show. Click on the icon on the homepage. If you have any questions, concerns, disagreements, or if you had a fun or unusual 4th, give us a call. We'd love to hear it. In fact, we have a couple that I think we're going to play back tonight, so that's good. We want to get the listeners involved. Also, I just want to go over a little bit what we're going to discuss tonight. The All Star Game is underway. All our DVRs are rolling.
Yep.
We will get into that in depth next week with some good, concise opinions and check on how the Dodger representatives did. We will, however, we'll talk about the Home Run Derby. We can talk about that. Also, we'll look at the second half of the season. Dodgers, I've got some numbers here. I'm sure Vince does too. Dodgers, Angels. Dodgers are running away. Angels could get the second wild card. We'll talk all about that. And maybe if you guys are you brave enough to bring your preseason predictions?
I didn't bring. I don't know if you rolled it back.
I figured you wouldn't.
I knew.
John.
I had an idea where I was going. I still have that in my memory bank, but I don't know if I have every. But I knew for sure Vince would have that.
I'll be available to confirm whether you're telling the truth or not. But I think a lot of us were surprised by some of our picks and how they're doing, but others that should be fun to kind of go over and talk about.
Yeah, we're getting that. We're getting into the second half of the season. Of course, we'll talk about Lonzo and his first 3 games. Now he's out with a strain. Maybe if we get time, a little bit of the Clippers. They've added some interesting players. Doc thinks they'll be pretty good without Chris Paul, and we'll discuss that, throw that around. And that's about it. We should go ahead and get started. You guys watch I have to confess, I did not watch the Home Run Derby. Did you guys catch it?
I was talking to Vince, and I figured out that the best way to watch the Home Run Derby is to go ahead and get your DVR ready to go and go enjoy some ice cream or go for a walk with your dog and then come back and fast forward all the way pretty much through the final. I watched a little bit. I was very intrigued with how the whole judge thing was going to go on. There was I thought the best part of the Home Run Derby was kind of the very beginning and then kind of the very end. But you could tell Sano just ran out of juice. He was tired. But the kid judge put on a spectacle. I mean, the kid's pretty amazing.
What are your guys' thoughts about?
But what I liked about it is it got a chance for us. I don't know about you guys, but it got a chance to see a Charlie Blackmon that you didn't know about. The kid Justin Bohr that I don't really know too much about. So it was good to kind of see all of that. Some of these guys that you maybe heard about, but you really never got to see. But it was good to watch. I mean, Charlie Blackmon's got really, really fast hands. Yeah. And he's a leadoff hitter. So it was great to see a leadoff guy hit in the home run derby, right? Derby, so that kind of angle was, but again, it's exhibition, exhibition, just like the game tonight is. So,
Right.
So John, let me get this straight. Are you saying that the home run derby gave Bourne an identity? Thank you very much.
No, you gave Bohr an identity,
okay.
not Born.
Sorry.
What are your guys' thoughts? I listened to a little bit of sports talk radio today, and boy, I tell you, everybody's all over this Judge as the new face of the game. Jeter passed the torch to Mike Trout after the All Star Game, which was his final, and Mike Trout has pretty much been the face of the game since. I think Judge might have a little ways to go. I mean, I'm not denying his talents and abilities, but let's do it for 4 or 5 years. Let's get a couple of MVPs. Let's get some All-Star MVPs. I know he's in New York and Trout's in Anaheim, and that he gets all the East Coast and the bias there. But I think this is a little bit premature.
I think it's very premature. I don't see him as the face of the game. I think a guy like Mike Trout is. But does Mike Trout want to be the face of baseball? I don't know if he really wants to, but I agree. I mean, we're at the very beginning stages here, and yeah, so far it's been really good. The kid can hit for average, and he's hitting bombs, and it's Vince and I probably might go on a little tangent here about these juice baseballs and stuff, but the kid's a big kid. He's 6'7", 270 or whatever, and he's got gigantic legs, and he's a good hitter. I mean, there's nothing. But again, like you said, show me more, and win some things, and then. But again, when you're in New York, you're going to get exposed.
Yeah, get a little
if
resume.
this kid was in Minnesota, it would be like, what the heck's going on up there?
Exactly.
Right.
So
A lot like when Yasiel Puig, exploded onto the scene and was hitting just a ton and playing great defense. And, Judge seems to have all the tools. But, like some people are saying, remember, he's 4 years older than a Cody Bellinger, for instance. Won't have his first free agent contract till he's 31, right?
Wow.
So, I mean, and you think about things like that, and is that really the guy who's going to be sort of the face of it? There's going to be some time. I mean, obviously Trout is the type of guy who just shies away from it, but there's just no denying how amazing, his numbers are.
Exactly.
Year in and year out, and still a young man. And so for me, we wait and see, but there's no denying that he has exploded on the scene. He's doing tremendously. He has more rookie home runs than Joe DiMaggio. That's phenomenal stuff. And he's a big kid. He's a big kid.
Yeah.
I heard somebody today on the radio say they're surprised he wasn't a football player with his size and weight and ability.
He was, right? A two-way player. In high school, he was
Is he from Northern California? Is that where he's from?
I don't know where Judge is from.
Okay.
I would just like to see, I'm not denying that he could be the face of the game, just like to see a little bit more resume.
Well, and
first.
if you let's just say he does bring on that resume, right, that you're asking for.
Right.
I mean, the kid's pretty humble too. He's a really nice kid. He speaks very
he's well-spoken, charming.
So I
absolutely.
mean, he's working his way in that direction. But again, prove more to me before I give you that that title. So,
but he was an absolute stud in the home run derby. I mean, some of those bombs were absolutely ridiculous.
I like when he hit it off the ceiling. They're like, "Yeah, we'll give you an HR." I'm like, I would think so,
but they didn't. They took it back.
Oh, did they?
Yes, they did. They ended up taking it back because the ground rules at that stadium are it hits the dome or the roof. It's just a double. It's not a home run.
I forgot who one of the commentators I heard said a couple times, "Oh, you missed that one." And he hit the home run to right.
They still went out.
Yeah, they still went out.
That was so impressive. He was hitting it in every single direction possible. And that's just very talented.
You miss it and out it goes.
Right. And I heard it's a shorter porch in right there, I think, right? Than it is in left. But, I mean, some of the bombs he hit in the left center was crazy.
Probably still going.
Good, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they were.
I mean, I would have at the very end. I mean, if you want to put it all together as the exhibition that we think, I thought it would have been really cool to see Stanton versus him. I mean, they tried to set it up that way, and then this kid Sano Sanchez beat Stanton in the first round, and so that kind of took it out. But that would have been. I mean, the place would have been rocking.
Oh yeah,
And,
that would have been fun
that
for
would
them.
have been kind of fun. So.
Especially for the
Yeah,
homegrown.
they were. I mean, anyway.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. You're talking about it on one of, I think it was Sano's last home run in the final. There was a huge guy in left field on the left field porch, and I remember texting a friend, "You got to look at this guy. I think he's got to be like a basketball player. He looks like he's about 6'10". He's huge." And you see him reach over in his long arms, and he stretches over like the woman that's next to him, and like across two other people, and it hits him right off the wrist, and it bounces off. And I go, "That's got to be somebody." And it turns out it was Joel Embiid.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
class.
but it clanked right off his wrist.
Oh.
Yeah, just clanked right off of him.
That's
and
hilarious.
hopefully he's not hurt. Hopefully he didn't hurt himself.
Exactly,
But the girl, somebody gave him the ball, and even though he didn't earn it, he just took one off the wrist. They gave him the ball anyway. So, but I thought it was funny because when I was watching him, going, this guy is huge.
Yeah, he's not normal.
So like the railing, right? The woman, it comes up to her waist, right? On the railing on him was right at his knees. It's crazy.
He could have fell
But it was
over.
fun. Yeah. So if you got that still in your DVR, look for it.
Yeah.
Sano's last home run.
No, it's already been deleted.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's move into the recapping the first half, moving into the second half of the.
Well, actually, if you want to stay on the All-Star, I mean, I have a couple things on the All-Star game.
No worries.
You know, one of the things that Vince and I were talking about earlier is the Dodgers have 6 representatives.
Right.
What's interesting is they have 61 wins, right? Best team in baseball,
Right.
and they don't have one starter on the team, right? For the National League. Astros have 6 players. They're 60. They're second with overall. They have 3 guys starting on the American League team. American League has won the last 4 games, and now this whole American League, National League winning team is not going to be able to get the home field advantage. It's going to be best record overall now, which I think is smart. I don't think it's fair that, the winner of the All-Star game becomes the home favorite or the home favorite. I don't think that's right. So Vince and I were discussing actually before you came in, and that good. You have the best record in baseball. You get home field advantage. So, and then
That's how it happens in the other sports. I mean, other than football, obviously.
Yeah.
In the NBA and in the NHL,
Hockey,
you can earn home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and that's the way it should be in baseball, and never has been.
I think the American League is the favorite. I don't know if you've looked at this. They've won a majority of all the American League interleague games. The American League is winning over the National League. So, and they have 2 good. They have Jansen over there, but I think the whole Andrew Miller to Craig Kimbrell. If he can get the lead there, I think the American League's pitching could hold off the National League.
Yeah, I think I said it before, and I don't disagree with you guys that this is a good way to decide the host, the seventh game host for the World Series. But I've lost interest in it now. I watched it. I had no interest in it, particularly before they decided to make it mean something.
Yeah.
And every year I'm, hopeful and thinking, well, what if the Angels get in? I'd like to have them with that 7th game. And I watched them. I was interested. They've taken that away, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's just, for me, the game, it's just an exhibition.
Yeah, exhibition. It always has been, I think.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, even for me, I don't think there was a way you couldn't, other than Bud Selig saying, okay, that's it. The game's going to end in a tie, and then making this rash decision after that. Nobody ever considered it anything other than an exhibition game. And for me, it was an exhibition game that you tried to tack some importance to, which I find absolutely strange, absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. So, for instance, Joe Madden's there, and it's like, I'm not making the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
Screw you. I don't care if we win.
Yeah.
Let's throw Kenley Jansen 3 innings. That's not going to happen. He's a more reputable guy than that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But it's silly. It was always silly to me to kind of put that on something that is considered an exhibition game. Could you imagine if that was the way it was run in the NBA? It's nonsense.
No, right,
it's nonsense. Yeah. And again, I understand because in baseball, guys throwing hard, guys swinging hard. It's the same. Essentially the game is the same. It's not that way in football. It's not that way in basketball in an all-star game. Guys are letting up. They don't want to get hurt, or they're just not playing defense. It's different. But it's always been an exhibition game, and sometimes it's fun, and sometimes you scratch your head and Buster Posey's hitting cleanup for the National League.
I
And it's
saw
like,
that today. Yeah.
do they think he's retiring next year? Trying to honor him for something?
I'm like, what is that?
Come on, that's just nonsense. And that's just Joe Madden, probably. I think I'm going to blame everything on Joe Madden. That it's him taking a dig at the Dodgers by putting, the one guy from, the worst team in Giants history in the 4 spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit, I don't know.
So I forget, do they, because it's in the National League, do they still play by American League rules? Do they DH, even though it's in Miami?
Don't they DH? They DH every year. I think they DH every All Star game.
Yeah, they DH.
Yeah. Give them an extra, give both teams an extra bat. Anything else on that before we go to
I got some All-Star break stats, when it comes down to, in the middle of the year and breaking down what's happened in the beginning of the year. As I said, Dodgers 61, Astros 60 wins. This is the second time since 1933 that two teams are 30 games over 500. The last time that was 1998 with the Yankees versus the Braves. That ended up being the World Series, the Yankees versus the Braves. So I think, Vinny, if I'm right, it could be a Dodgers-Astros. I think he might have picked that. I don't know. I think I went Cubs-Astros.
I did not pick the
Houston.
Astros.
Houston has the same number of losses as the Dodgers, but they played one less game.
Yeah, I'm just saying that.
So they could have the identical record with, as the
they
Dodgers.
could, but the Dodgers have 61 wins at the break, and whether they played more games or not, that's still.
Yeah, well,
I was looking at it. The Dodgers did have one game against the Padres that got postponed. So I don't know how many that the Astros, if they had any postponements. And then got some home run stuff. But if we want to go over where we stood, each guy, when it comes to where we picked at this point.
Are we there yet? You want to talk about who we picked, or?
Well, we can do that and go back to this. I got some other things on the break. I'd like to talk a little bit about the Angels and some other things, but we can go. Let's go to our picks. Yeah, preseason picks.
Okay.
Go ahead, Vince.
Well, let's see. Starting with the American League East, we all picked Boston.
Right.
So we all are starting to look like geniuses there. However, John Adams picked Baltimore second.
Right. Well, it had nothing to do about second, right? Just first.
Yeah. I guess that's. I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I guess that's
where
true.
people stand at first.
I
know I don't have Milwaukee. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. And then in the Central, we all picked Cleveland.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Geniuses.
Well, I mean, that was so hard.
And I think in the West, we all picked,
so
the Astros.
Yeah. And then we all picked the Astros in the West. So at the top, we're pretty good. It's sort of from there. I think all of us picked Detroit second, and they're in sell mode.
Yep.
Yeah.
It seems like Toronto's in last place in the East, and I think both you and I, John, picked them second.
Yep.
I think they may have even been my wild. They were a wild card team for me.
Oh, really?
And I think, John, you might have had them as a wild card.
I do.
Did you, John? Did you have them as a wild card?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, just checking.
I'm trying to think who my wild card.
Oh, your wild card was Seattle, and I had it marked down as Toronto, but that might not be right.
Yeah, no.
Since you had Baltimore finishing ahead of them in the East.
Yeah.
So.
And then the National League, how are we?
So National League East, John and I had
the Mets.
The Nationals.
Oh, the Nationals.
You had the
I
Mets.
Mets.
You had the Mets.
Yeah.
That's been. They just have not been a very good team. They're not completely out of it yet. I mean, 8 games under 500, but
I lost a couple pitchers too.
A lot of injuries. Yeah.
But we all had Washington and New York for second.
Yeah.
You just had it flip-flopped from there. We all thought Philadelphia was going to be dreadful.
Which they've proven us right.
Exactly. and then in the Central, we all were on the Chicago bandwagon. They certainly were looking good.
I'm not throwing them out. They might make a comeback, but I saw a stat the other day that at the All Star game, not one pitcher that they had as a starter, their top 5 starters, was over 3 point in the ERA. They don't have one guy under 3 point right now in the ERA category, and they sent Hendricks down to AAA to try to figure it out.
Yep.
So if they can get their pitching figured out, I think they still always have enough. Because I'm not sold on Milwaukee, but
I don't think the Brewers are gonna,
but I don't know. I still have a feeling that they can come back. Now, that being said, do they have enough to get to the championship? I thought they did, and now I question that. So
the word is that they're also shopping Schwarber. So
why don't you? The guy's hitting like under 200.
They sent him down, and
he came backing up, and he still doesn't look good.
Still doesn't look good.
He has spent some time. It's astonishing what he was able to do in the postseason after sitting so much.
And maybe that's the kind of guy that you say, hey, here's the beginning of the season. No, go play hurt for 4 months and come back.
So that's going to be interesting. Whether the Cubs are going to go out and Theo Epstein are going to try and make a big splash and try and pick somebody up. I don't know that the Tigers are quite there yet, but everybody's talking about Verlander being available, perhaps.
I question it. I just don't know if there's going to be a lot of those Chapmans and those kind of guys available. I think you're going to be able to. If you got great scouts, I think you're going to be able to find some mid relievers to relievers to kind of come in and strengthen that 7th, 8th, and inning guys like a Doolittle or somebody like that to come in. But I really just don't see the big names going. But
so you don't think
I thought a guy like Archer might be going, but the Rays are still kind of in there.
Especially the way the wild card now with 2 wild cards, everybody's in the race for that second wild card.
I just don't know if you're going to see some guys.
Sonny Gray, you don't think he's going to?
How has Sonny Gray been pitching? I mean, do you think? I guess my question is, are you as a team that's going to possibly win your division? Are you looking to go and replace your 3 guy or your 4 guy? Or are you looking more as trying to find those good setup guys, that 7, 8 guy? Maybe you have your closer already locked in, but hey, I can go get a Joe Smith from Toronto or somebody like that can give me something different, and maybe
right.
So that's something that I think they're going to shop, or I'm going to go shop to get a bat. But what bats are out there that these guys are going to want?
A lot is going to be determined in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah,
so see how these.
Curious to see.
Yeah, there's going to be
the
shake. There's going to be the shakeout, and the Tigers is the one team that I'm just hearing quite a bit. Obviously, the Padres. Who do they really have? Brad Hand, their all-star, seems like the guy that might be on the block,
right.
Or he may just be bait, a lure for them, saying, well. Yeah, maybe the cost for Brad Hand is a little high. Who else do you got on that team? Which isn't a lot, but
Meyer might be. I don't know if Meyer's tradable.
No, with that contract, probably not.
Yeah,
and they've already sort of said that he's the face of their
right.
And for them, sort of acting like a minor league town. It's like, hey, Will Myers is our guy. And like he's going to be the threshold, and everybody else is going to we're going to bring in is going to come in right under him. They're not going to sign anybody.
Yeah.
They're not going to sign anybody. They're going to keep developing from within. It's going to be a long 3, 4, 5 years for Padre fans. But it sounds like JD Martinez and Justin Verlander might be available.
So what about like you? I mean, you think your Dodgers might want to go out and get some more arms, right? Would it be more in the starting positions or more in the mid-relief kind of guys?
It depends. I think it would
because you have some guys in the minors to deal.
Yes and no. I think that the relief is where Sergio Romo didn't quite fill the role that they were hoping he would fill as sort of that setup guy. So they've been going with a lot of different guys who are throwing hard. Baez has been, one of the more consistent guys. But there's always this, they love the 10-day DL, and so they will shuttle up and shuttle down guys like Dayton and Morrow and Avalon, and just keep keep moving that. Hatcher now is down. Another guy who throws hard, but just has been in a low leverage situations most of the year, and you can't get much lower than the AAA.
Vincent and I were at the game the other night. Morrow was throwing 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
this kid brings it.
Whoa!
But again,
but
he also threw a lot of balls. But
yeah, exactly. And you got to throw strikes with that thing. And big league hitters can hit big league fastballs. And if you have that and not much wrinkle to it, or wrinkle to something else that you might throw, or you're throwing a 90-mile-an-hour slider. There's not enough variation there.
I think a lot of these teams are going to have to do a lot of homework to try to find what they're going to get for these players. So if you got superstar prospects that could go, is this going to be a fair trade? Going, because
right.
I just seem to think the big names are not going to. I don't think there's going to be a lot of them.
Yeah.
So that's.
So going back to where we left off, we were talking about Chicago. We all had Chicago at the top spot. We all had St. Louis at the second spot. And then we all picked the Dodgers in the West. Though you guys were more higher on San Francisco. I think, John, you had San Francisco as a wild card.
Well, we didn't have Baumgartner.
And I had... look, they were bad when Baumgartner was healthy.
You had Arizona going, I think, second.
No, I had Colorado.
Okay,
I had Colorado going as a wild card with the Mets. Those were my wild card teams, which I just thought they were going to play better than the Dodgers right now are just hard to touch.
Yeah.
They're rolling.
They're just hard to touch. They've won 26 of the last 30. It's just ridiculous. And the kind of numbers that they're winning by, I was looking at their last 18 games, and obviously with the 26-4 record, you're winning a lot. Only one opposing team reliever has a save in those 18 games.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I know we're going to talk. I mean, they're 24-17 against the West. I don't think the West is very good, to be honest with you.
The National League West?
Mm-hmm.
I might differ with you there.
I just don't see. I think Colorado and Arizona had made their splash. I just don't know if they're going to be able to carry it on into the second. I think the Central is going to be. I don't know what Milwaukee's really going to do, but I still think Chicago and St. Louis are the teams to battle for those spots. But in the East, I think is not good at all either. So in the National League, so
I think the NL West is. I mean, when you look at the Diamondbacks,
I'm just saying the Dodgers versus who they're playing in the West. I just don't think they're.
Well, the Diamondbacks have 53 wins, which is 8 behind.
Colorado's got 52,
and Colorado's 52.
Yeah, and I don't see it lasting, is what I'm trying to say.
Nobody else.
It's good. I mean, and maybe I'm just going off the track record, right? The track record of. Yeah, I mean they've showed promise. I think they're going to be getting better. I can see them starting to. I just don't see the Dodgers really having anybody pressure them at all in the West. I don't think anybody's going to pressure them, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if Colorado and Arizona are the wild cards. So you think St. Louis or Chicago won't be jumping into those wild?
I didn't say that. I wouldn't be surprised though.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, Arizona was won just 3 games in their last 10, and they'd still have, if the Dodgers were not in the National League, the best record in the National League.
Right.
They'd be leading the Nationals. They'd be leading the East.
Exactly.
After 3-7, after being 3-7. So, and Colorado was at the top of, and the other thing is that.
All right, so I'll just go and say, I'll buy you guys a cocktail if one of those two teams make the playoffs.
One of which two teams?
Yeah, Colorado or Arizona. Yeah. If they get in the playoffs, I'll buy you guys a cocktail.
Arizona is 33-15 at home. That's got to correct.
Yeah.
Right, that's got to correct. I get that. 20-21 on the road. That's more like it. Colorado 26-18 at home, 26-21 on the road.
I just know that St. Louis always finds a way. They always are a team that finds a way.
They got
it's a great baseball program there too.
Great tradition,
I don't know. And maybe I'm just going off a past statistics.
I'm not saying St. Louis might not be there. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if the Diamondbacks in Colorado.
The thing, Milwaukee's got 50 wins. They're 8-2 in their last 10.
Yeah.
St. Louis better wake up.
Yeah.
Chicago better wake up if they want to hang around, because right now, all of them are, 10 games out of the wild card.
Yeah.
8, 9, 10 games out of the wild card. The second wild card.
So some statistics, because Vince and I saw an article on how a lot of people are talking about inside baseball, how the stitches are wound tighter than what it used to be, right? And this has actually come to the point where more guys on the mound are getting blisters because of these wound baseballs being tighter, obviously. So there's no statistics that show, other than performance-wise, that the baseball is different. But the statistics offensively have shown huge increase from 2 years ago, right? 3,343 home runs this up to today. They're on pace to hit over 6,000 home runs.
That's this season?
This season.
Jeez.
I mean, it's insane. There have been 12 home runs hit more than 470 feet. Last year, there was only 10. And there are 168 home runs that have been hit over 450 feet. That's just up to the All-Star
And
break.
we're only at the break. Yeah.
So there's something fishy about this baseball.
Yeah.
And they're still trying to figure it out. But we've heard it's the seams on the baseball that have become tighter, but nobody can prove it. But there's a lot of guys Rich Hill had it, but there's other guys I saw. I don't know who it was, but it was a lefty on the mound, and it was just bleeding down his hand. So there's more blisters being involved. I don't know if Vince wants it or he wants to add to it, but there's something going on. And to be honest with you, I don't mind it. I think it's great for baseball,
exciting.
right?
I mean,
it's exciting, right?
I don't think it's affected pitching too much. I mean, you're seeing some guys who are excelling. The best pitchers are going to be good. I don't see it as just an across the board. There's more home runs,
Right.
but it's not where the hitters are that much further ahead. You're going to see guys like Chris Taylor, coming in and hitting a bunch, and Cody Bellinger hitting 25 first half home runs, even though he's only been up since the end of April. I get that, and that's fun for me. I don't mind that at all. Mm-hmm. The thing that I'd like to find out is, the spin rate on some of these pitches. Has the spin rate decreased on some of these breaking pitches now that the seams are lower? That's the stat that I'll do a little homework on, and we'll see.
Right, and I saw this statistic this morning that there are 5 teams in baseball right now that are throwing less than half of their pitches are breaking balls. Less than half are fastballs. So they're throwing more breaking pitches. All 5 of those teams, the Indians, the Yankees, the Astros, the Rays, and the Angels, are all battling for playoff spots.
Right.
So it's interesting how analytics now possibly could be coming into play, and you might be seeing more breaking pitches or the pitch that they all want to perfect is a slider, right? So if you can get any type of movement on that ball, obviously the better you're going to be. So it's funny how the statistic just came out that that the teams that's trying to stay away from the fastball is actually they're hanging in there. So interesting. So.
Our buddy Dave Roberts doesn't mind. He says, "No, I don't mind."
Got a smile on his face too.
He's smiling.
So, but those are some stats that I found that I thought were a little interesting for the end of the first half. So
I want to talk a little bit about the Angels and their second half outlook. They right now are 3 games out of the second wild card. Mm-hmm. They've got.
That's the one analytic I think we're going to have to work on is the delusion quality of you guys. They're in it. I get it, 45 and 47, but they're health wise.
Well, they got to get healthy.
there's just no way they can't get there from here.
Well, they're only 18-16 versus the West, and the West is not that good other than the Astros, right?
Yeah,
so
but
they're going to have to beat up on their own league to hang in there. So they're going to have to beat the Seattles and
the Oaklands
and the Oaklands and the Texas and
play better on the road.
And they've had 25 different pitchers this year come to the mound. I mean, it's just a rotating door. It's smoke and mirrors. But I got to give it to them. They're hanging in there with Trout being on the DL and with all the injuries we've had. Again, we go here and we talk about it again. Nobody knows what the heck's going on with Richards.
Yeah.
Your ace.
Yeah.
He pitched 5 innings and you haven't seen him since.
I
mean, it's and Skaggs is Haney might slide in later in the year. They're saying he's got a chance to come in playoff wise or maybe in there, but
you guys have like a whole secret roster of guys on the injured reserve.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
The injury roster might be better than the Major League.
The team you got to worry about when it comes to those play is the Kansas City Royals. They're starting to play good baseball right now, and they've been there, and I think that's a team to kind of worry about. When it comes to that, getting that playoff spot.
There's no question that Kansas City team had won 4 straight. They had won 6 of 7 coming into the LA series, and they just hit the LA buzzsaw.
Yeah, right.
And the Dodger buzzsaw. So you're right. They're playing much better, and those are the types of teams that they're going to have to worry about.
Right.
You're looking at it, and the Angels have played 50 games on the road already.
Yeah. And this is where July. Remember, I told you July, right? Every Monday and Thursday they have off this month. Rest is going to help them.
They start out the second half. They have 17 of their first 23 games at home.
Yeah,
and they've got 3 coming up this weekend against Tampa Bay, which is right ahead of them. So this is going to tell. And then they get 3 against Philly, last place. 3 against Oakland, last place.
Yeah.
So they've got. They've got
and that's
only
where
6
you have
games.
to, and that's where you have
beat
to
those
win
guys
those.
up.
Yeah,
exactly.
So like a perfect example is they go to New York. The New York comes here, they win 2 out of 3. They go to New York, go to Boston, they win 2 out of 3. They go to New York, they win 2 out of 3.
Exactly.
Then they go to Minnesota, and I think they got swept, right? Or they'll go to Kansas City and they lose 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So it's just like you got to be able.
Yet they split with the Dodgers team that was red hot.
Yeah.
Didn't give up a lot of hits.
Good
Nolasco
games
and even Meyer had even though he couldn't throw the ball over the plate, had only given up 1 hit in the 6 innings he worked, or 5.5, or whatever it was that he pitched in that 3rd game of the series. But they got a lot of good pitching, and I remember telling you that it felt like, it felt like a playoff for the Angels. Like the Angels were playing like it was a playoff, and Nolasco was lights out, and then I don't remember who pitched in the 2nd game, but whoever it was pretty good. Was it
Chavez? I think.
Yeah.
Or was Ramirez was the last game against Kershaw.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But I mean, even the game that we saw, I mean. That was a perfect example. Meyer was at 96 pitches in the 5th inning or 6th inning. And
half were strikes, half were balls by that point. But at some point, we
were watching it in the 4th inning. He had way more balls than he had strikes.
12 more balls than strikes.
Yeah. So it's just.
But he hadn't given up a hit at that point.
Right. Yeah. He threw a 1-hitter through 6 and threw 96 pitches. So I mean, just that's the one thing that you got to worry about is if you can get these guys, if you can get these leads going in the 7th inning, 8th inning, we're pretty strong. We can, and the other thing is, how is Trout going to come out of the injury?
That's the thing.
How long is it going to take for him to get into the groove again and help out and help the Pujols and I still think we have no answer at first base. Crone's up and down, and
Valbuena doesn't even belong on the roster.
And so. There's issues there on the corner. So,
I just think those first 23 games out of the break.
I totally agree.
Very
totally
important.
Agree. Yeah,
they've got to make up some ground. They got to beat some teams that are bad teams that they should beat. So we'll see.
John, we have speaking about Trout and going to be returning. We do have a viewer voicemail regarding Trout, and I think now would be a good time to listen to that. Why don't we listen to it and then we can address it? Yeah. So let me just.
Hey guys, glad to see that you're taking these messages now. This is Dave in Northridge, and I'm thinking about Mike Trout, and I'm thinking about why the Angels shouldn't trade him now. With 3 years left on his contract, he's still got a lot of value. but he couldn't really be that likely to be re-signing with the Angels in 3 more years. It's really unlikely the Angels are going to be close in 3 years to a World Series, given their farm system in the state that that's in. I just looked at Baseball America's newly issued midseason 100 prospects, and the Angels' only person on that list is at number 97, an outfielder named Jordan Abel, and he just graduated from high school. And so I'm thinking the Angels, it's time to move him. Let's get some prospects for him, some pitching, some corner infielders, and start the rebuilding process now rather than starting it 3 years from now and watching Mike Trout flail with this team. I'll hang up and listen. 97.
So it's something we've addressed.
It's a good point.
It's something we've addressed in the past,
Correct, right.
and it's one of those sort of elephants in the room that no Southern California sports fan or Angel fan really wants to talk about. But we've discussed it before, and one of the things that we've said is that it just doesn't make any financial sense to let him go. You got to do everything you can to keep him as an Angel for as long as you can. He puts, cheeks in the seats. He is the face of the franchise. But on the other hand, as Dave from Northridge was saying, he has a lot of value. The cupboard is bare at the minor league system. And that Joey Bell, who was drafted just this year, high school kid, swings through a lot of pitches. It's going to take a little while for him to develop. He's not ready, and he's not going to be ready. He's an 18, maybe 19 years old. Yeah. It's going to be a while. And not that the Baseball America top 100 is the end-all, be-all. But it's a pretty good barometer of where the minor league system. So as the Angels guys, can you make an argument right now for keeping Trout regardless? I mean, at all costs.
I had an article earlier in the year on this very subject posing the question, do the Angels have to start making some playoff runs to keep Trout in Anaheim? Because he's not going to... doesn't matter what they offer. He might take a lesser offer when he becomes a free agent from a team like the Yankees, where he knows he can go and can compete every year. I don't think he wants to come to spring training every year knowing that it's going to be a third, fourth place finish. I mean, he's too proud. He's too talented. Everybody wants to win. I mean, you want to make the playoffs. They've made one playoff series since Trout's been here, and they lost all 3 games. Kansas City swept them a couple of years ago. So they haven't won a playoff game since he's been here. I, for one, would hate to see him go. I don't know what Artie would be willing to. It's going to be. He could be the first $50 million a season man. In 3 years.
I think it's a great point that Dave brings up. Being a fan, I would hate to see him go also, right? But if you look at just the business side of things, one of the things that scares me about it is we have depleted or we have terrible scouts in our system to actually have drafted for us to where we don't have anything really to give away. Mm-hmm. Now, we go ahead and we're relying on those scouts to go wherever it is, the Yankees or the Cubs or the Mets or whoever, to go. I mean, what are they going to offer us? I want to make sure that it's going to be worth.
I think they'd offer a heck of a lot.
I know they would, but is it going to be busts? You know what I mean? Oh yeah, I remember we got this guy and he never, and that's a chance you got to take. But
yeah, you never know if they're gonna.
Right?
I really believe that. I don't know if I know for sure the last 2 years that Trout's been with us, he's never seen a pitching staff go from pretty much, start to finish. It's been absolutely depleted the last 2 years.
That's true.
So I think there's a part of him that believes, look if we have Richards to Haney to Skaggs to maybe Nolasco or to Shoemaker or whoever it is, he really believes that they could contend in baseball. But again, the last 2 years have been a nightmare, right? And it's been blown up. So I really do. He kind of did sell me on that. I mean, Could we get rid of him to get 6, 7? I don't
You
know.
gotta get
What do you
yeah.
think he's worth? Like
You'd have
6,
to
7
get
guys?
6 or 7 guys.
I think the thing that concerns me the most is like a kind of an objective outsider who doesn't want this bad thing to happen to the Angels. I really don't. Is, boy, what if you get 6 guys and you restock your farm system and, like you said, they just don't quite measure up. That's the fear, is that you get a lot of guys, you get a lot of volume, but not a lot of quality. And sure, they're high prospects, and on paper, it's going to look like now you've got, 2 or 3 more, top 50 or top 100, Baseball America, prospects. They have to get somebody who can help now as well. If they're even going to entertain the idea about it, they have to get at least 1 or 2 players who can immediately help, and not just farm hands. They can't do it.
Yeah.
It can't be done. And so for me, and in an answer to Dave's question, is yes, his value is high right now. He does have a few more years left on the contract. For me, it's you gotta wait. This team is playing pretty good baseball for what they
Depleted,
have, right?
yeah.
For a depleted
for sure.
team, they're playing with a lot of heart, a lot of grit. They're just grinding it out. Let's see what happens. I don't think we get to the point where we're really truly entertaining this concept and this notion until at least next year.
I agree. I forgot to mention Ramirez would be in that starting staff too. I've totally forgot about it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Which it's funny because there's
He's
so
almost
much.
become the ace
yeah,
almost,
there's so much missing that it's hard to sort of pinpoint. Well, what would this team be like?
Yeah.
What would it be like? And once Trout's back in the lineup, some of those old bugaboos in the lineup, who's protecting him? Who's hitting behind him, and
right, exactly. And the Maben pickup has actually now worked out for us. We found from the starting lineup. So, and he's leading the league in stolen bases and stuff. So, I think there's enough chemistry there, being that we're healthy, to be competitive. But I agree. I can see the business side of things.
Right.
But what you get for him is going to be like, that's the big question. I would hate to go out and I think Vince, you just got a great point. It might be some minor leaguers, but there's going to have to be some at-once guys too in that trade. We're going to have to get a good first baseman along with, maybe another, second baseman, and then minor leaguers to go with it that are exceptional.
And I don't think you cannot let him walk.
Right.
When they traded, when they got Zach Greinke from Milwaukee, they gave up Gene Segura, who's an all-star shortstop.
Yeah.
But at the end of the year, when
Right, and he left right after.
Yeah. Greinke left, and Teixeira too.
Yeah.
They traded for Teixeira, and he was gone. They got nothing for him.
Yep.
You can't.
And that's the scary thing about it, right? Are people internally going to be making good decisions? And right now, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of our guy who puts the people in my view, the best player in baseball is. Are we going to get? Is it going to be worth our while? And right now, I'm not a big fan of our scouts and what they're doing. And like you said, Vince, our number 1 pick is a guy that misses the baseball a lot. So. He's
a high schooler. That may
right.
change.
Yeah,
It could. Yeah, he's a good athlete, and and he definitely has amazing blazing speed. He's gonna be, he's gonna be good, but at what level, right?
Yeah,
up to what level?
And the Yankees have actually built their minor league system, so that would be a good place to go.
Yeah, I would.
I could see him. I could see him in a couple ways. I could see him in Philly. I mean,
he's a New Jersey.
He's a
New Jersey guy.
So
yeah,
Philly, Mets, New
Yankees.
York, that kind of stuff.
I would be interested.
He built a home in New York, so he's there right now.
Right.
Type of deal.
I'd be interested to see how some of those. They had that big trade for Chapman. Didn't the Yankees give up some picks, some draft picks to get him? Or no, they just signed him, didn't they?
They just signed him. No. The Cubs gave up the prospects to the Yankees.
I'd like to see.
They built that whole.
Yeah, I'd like to see how those guys are doing.
Exactly.
I'd like to see how those guys are doing.
That's something we could look
It's a
up
good
actually for
question.
But it's a good question, and
not-
it's one of those things that sort of keeps lingering. You know, the further along we go, you know, obviously, what are they, 16 and a half back now?
Yeah,
That's
something.
out of first place.
Right.
Houston's running away. So,
Oh, yeah.
you know, that's not reasonable. But as you said, the second wild card is not out of the question. With Trout back in the lineup, and so a lot of it depends. But there's that, you know, like Dave, like a fan, like Dave looks at it and says, look, they're just going to tease us, right? And that's sort of what I'm reading into it. They're just going to tease you, and they're going to get close, and they're going to overachieve a little bit, but they're just not going to quite make it. And then the fear is that you're going to have one more season like that, and then another season like that. The cavalry is not coming. Trout is hitting 35 bombs, driving in 110 runs, only just by sheer will, because who's getting on in front of him? Who do you have?
Right.
And September comes and you can't call up anybody who can have any kind of.
He's already going to pay the money for him. You know, what happens is when he gets into his contract year, people are going to say, you know, why do I want to trade for him? Because maybe Artie's not going to come up with the money he's going to be asking.
and you know, Vince and I got tickets, you know, from a friend, and those tickets behind the dish were $300 a piece.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're paying to see Mike Trout.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, we didn't.
Oh, we didn't. But I mean,
No, but and we didn't see Mike Trout.
right? Yeah. So again, but prior to, I mean, he's on the team. So I mean, you know, you don't give me a Mike Trout. What are you going to give me to spend $300 a seat?
An
you know?
aging Albert Pujols,
Right, exactly.
Cole Calhoun.
Yeah. So that's
It's
it's an interesting question though, and it's something that it's like you said, it's something that's on the table that needs to stay on the table, and see what happens.
that's a good question, Dave. Why don't you give us a call back next year at this time, and we'll revisit that issue.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right.
So I know you're going to talk about the Dodgers real quick. I know that but I saw a statistic. Kershaw has 14 wins, right, at the break.
Correct.
He had 13 Ks the other day in 99 pitches, and he's
Yeah,
the first
I saw
pitcher
that.
in history
I
to
saw
have that many strikeouts with that many pitches.
Under 100 pitches.
Yeah, under
First
100
complete,
pitches. Yeah.
first complete game.
Yeah.
And listen, you know, I'm not the total conspiracy theorist, but we all know what it's like to be playing a ball game out in 93-degree heat when you've got a 5-day weekend coming up.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That was the Dodgers' first game under 3 hours.
Right.
And it wasn't just because Kershaw was pitching. It was like, let's swing, let's go. And you know, Kansas City swings a lot of pitches, and so they just wanted. I think they just wanted to get out of there. And but 13 strikeouts and 99 pitches, first complete game for Kershaw. 14-2 at the break, and he has the most wins at the All Star break for a Dodgers pitcher since Sandy Koufax in 1966. Remarkable.
Yeah.
It is.
And there are people who watch the Dodgers like me who look at it and say, he's throwing a lot of pitches. His slider isn't as good as it has been. But, boy, he's given up 18, I think, home runs.
He's given up some bombs this
18
year.
home runs.
Yeah.
But I remember we were discussing this and sort of I was wringing my hands about this. He only had 17. He's only given up one in like the last 3 weeks that we've, you know, since I was complaining about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, coming around, and then Wood and McCarthy have been terrific. Wood, an all-star, 10-0 at the break. Just remarkable to see.
I mean,
how
you
that
really look at that Kershaw to say McCarthy to Wood right now in the playoffs. If Wood can stay hot, I mean, it's and then you take those other starters and you throw them in the bullpen.
Yeah.
It's solid. I mean,
Yeah.
it goes back to where back in the Super Bowl days before, you know, Brady kept winning all the times, but defense won Super Bowls,
Right.
you know, type of deal. Pitching wins, you know, because now, I mean, I feel like when the playoffs start, guys get a little tighter offensively, and if you got guys that are just motoring guys down, I mean, the Dodgers are looking really, really good.
Really strong.
I mean, they can keep it that way. So,
Did we have another question?
we do have another question. So let's see if I can call that up, and we can. Okay, this one is from Tom in Santa Ana.
Just
Hello, Tom.
wanted you guys to weigh in on the McGregor Mayweather fight.
a man of few words, but we get the point. There was a press conference today. Did you see any
I
of it?
didn't get to see
They
it.
were really.
I just know it's 99.95 for that fight.
They were 99. That's right, 89.95 if you go standard def, high def 99.95. They were John back and forth, and that's the one place where Conor McGregor can keep up with Floyd, and even probably surpasses him.
Right.
So it's funny. It feels like an exhibition. I'm one of those people who look at it and say, God, I hope that doesn't count towards, the record, Marciano's record. But I'm also one of those guys who, I'm not a UFC, I'm not a mixed martial arts guy. I don't mind watching that, but there's no way McGregor even lays a hand on Mayweather. A 50-year-old Mayweather, Conor McGregor doesn't lay a hand on him. He just doesn't.
Yeah,
Mayweather's too fast. He's just too good a boxer.
He's too defensive. I mean, he's a great defensive fighter. He knows when to attack. He knows how to stay away. I don't know. I'm just wondering if instinct kicks in and all of a sudden McGregor tries to kick him. I mean, that would be funny, to be honest with you. But McGregor has hired a really elite trainer to go. But I just think, it's, to me, Vince, I'm right there with you. It's an exhibition. There's a part of me that says, I can't believe that this guy's getting this kind of money. These guys are getting this kind of money.
Yeah.
This is a joke. There is no way that I'm paying to watch that. And then John calls me up and goes, I got the fight. I'm like, really? Can I come over? I'm that kind of guy. Like,
right.
I wouldn't mind seeing it. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to pay for it, but I wouldn't mind seeing it.
It's funny because, fans of Conor McGregor will say, he's one of the strongest strikers. He's one of the hardest punchers, but it just doesn't translate well. I mean, especially when you can take people to the and use the groundwork on them and kick them and do all of these things to sort of subdue them. It's not like Conor McGregor is fighting elite boxing strikers when he's in the octagon. That's just not happening, we heard one of his sparring partners, or a former sparring partner, was saying, "There's no way you won't lay a glove on Mayweather."
Yeah.
I've sparred with Mayweather, and I've seen what Conor can do. There's no way he even lays a hand on him.
I think the best thing about this whole McGregor story is the story. The guy was broke.
Yeah.
I mean, on the streets. I mean, didn't have a dollar to him, and now he's going to be fighting for what, $100 million or something crazy. I mean, it's a great story, and how he can sell himself. He's a very good player, for a very good guy on selling himself to get this kind of money. And you got to give it to him. He's fought himself the way to becoming the name of this UFC, and so I mean, I got to give it to where he was, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, he was nothing, and now he's gonna fight Mayweather for 100. I don't know what he's getting.
He's not making quite that much,
but I mean, Mayweather's
he's making millions of dollars. Yeah.
Are there any odds in Vegas? Will they let you bet on the fight?
I think there are, and I can't remember if it's somewhere between plus 700, or something, plus 1,200 or something like that. It could be more. It could be more. I'm sure. Mayweather is a minus, 500, 600. It's going to be a huge number. Yeah. But the thing is that if there weren't so much of the other nonsense on the side of it, you'd think, well, maybe this could be a good fight, and let's really see how it's going to go. But then you hear today, something like the IRS is asking Mayweather to pay his tax bill, and he's saying, I got to put. Sorry, Dave. I got to put you off until after I get my paycheck from the fight with Conor McGregor. Yeah. So he owes $20 million.
Called a 20-second timeout.
Exactly, $20 million in back taxes from last year, or whatever. And he's saying, like, hold the phone, IRS. Yeah. So you see Mayweather's motivation. Right. I don't know.
That wrong. It was a 20 million timeout.
Yeah, 20 million. That's right. 20 million timeout. So that's one of those things that sort of is deflating as a fan. That makes you think that it's just going to be a spectacle. It's not really going to be a competitive event. I think there are people who want Conor McGregor to do really well. No doubt. I don't think that there's a boxing fan out there, a true boxing fan out there, who thinks Conor McGregor will even win a round.
Yeah, and Mayweather's been known to be able to dance around things, and and play defensive. You know, I think his last fight, he was defensive.
It's been his thing forever, and he likely isn't going to knock Conor McGregor down or out. Rather, he may knock him down, but I don't think he's going to knock him out. And you might get your money's worth.
Yeah,
if it goes the distance.
We're a little bit over, but we might have started late. You want to talk real quick about the first three summer league games?
Why don't we just do a real quick Lakers Clippers type of deal. So
Lonzo's inauspicious start was rough. And again, it's one of those things where Laker fans need to remember he's 19 years old. He is just starting to work with these guys. It's going to be a while, and I don't think I'm not one of the people who believes that he's going to be an elite scorer in the league. I don't think Magic Johnson expects him to be an elite scorer in the league, and so I think we're going to get a lot of 11-11-11 type games from him.
That's fine.
But that came in a loss, and I think that's the thing that I'm worried about the most. That is, we got Lonzo Ball second, but it's just not quite moving the needle forward.
Well, you mean the 11-11-11 you came in a loss?
Yes.
Yeah, but you also didn't have Ingram playing. So, I mean, I was very impressed with Ingram. I think he's put on some muscle. He's gotten a little bit bigger. I'm very excited to see how he does this year.
He worked hard during the offseason.
Yeah, he did. So, I mean, so the 11-11-11 came without, I think the star.
That's true.
The star that wasn't playing. So, I've been very, I know we're going to make this kind of quick, but I was very impressed with how much energy Bryant has and how he plays. Plays very aggressive. I like Bryant, it. He's showing that it's like, hey, I know you guys took a risk on me, and I'm going to give you 120%, and it's showing. Kuzma's got some.
I like Kuzma.
I like Kuzma, how he takes it to the hole a little bit.
Yeah.
So, Vince and I talked about this a little bit. I mean, did they actually get better? You know what I mean? Did they improve? I can't answer that, I think, for a couple of years, to be honest with you.
Right.
And again, next year is going to be a really interesting year with the Lakers on how the George and LeBron and who's available out there comes to LA. Because I think, on a rebuilding side of things, I think to have these younger guys working together for 1 year will help those superstars.
I heard on one show today that George is now a little bit ticked off at the Lakers for not dealing for him now.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, but he's not going to really. I mean, it all depends on if they make the playoffs. If he doesn't make the playoffs with Oklahoma, he'll be gone in a heartbeat.
I think Laker fans need to keep their expectations in check.
Oh, yeah.
Unless this team elevates by 8 to 10 games, so they won 26 last year. They're 26-56. They can get it to 35, which is where Vegas has put the over-under for this team. They can get it above that. Nobody should be expecting this team to be a playoff team.
No.
Right. Nobody should be expecting this team to get over 500 or close to 500. But if this team can improve by 10 games, then we can talk about Paul George wanting to come. But if this team has an injury here or an injury there, or it takes a little while for Lonzo Ball to sort of read the defenses and get his shooting touch from the outside, and they start rattling off losses in October and November, and it gets right to about 26 or about 30, I think Paul George needs to be smart and look at that and say, am I really going to improve that team to a 50, 60 team?
I think he's saying those kinds of things to make Oklahoma a little bit happier and the people that are going to come out and support him.
Yeah, he's got to. Otherwise, he'll get
the other
crucified.
thing is I was wrong and you were right. I think the kid Hart is mediocre at best. The point guard from Villanova.
You got to.
I just it was just okay to me. I thought he was going to come in and be a little bit better than what I saw, but again, it's at the very beginning. But I didn't like his first two games, to be honest with you.
I expected him to be better against the level of competition that they're playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I'll tell you, the guy who's disappointed me is Zubats. Zubats has looked terrible this summer. I mean, just awful. He looks, and I was texting with a friend. He looks like he hasn't picked up a basketball since May. Mm-hmm. It looks like he's been on, sunning himself in, the Serbian seashore or something. I'm not sure what the hell, or Ukraine or wherever the hell he's from. He looked pretty bad. His footwork, every time he came through, the ball's getting, he was either getting fouled or he was getting slapped out of his hands. He was dropping passes. Yeah. He's missing, the three-pointer, which is what he's supposed to be doing, is stretching the defense a little bit. Missing some three-pointers pretty badly, and thank God it's summer league, and hopefully, he's got a lot of time to progress. And Lopez is the guy.
Yeah.
He's going to have to carry this team. It all starts with him. And you guys can say, Laker fans can say whatever they want about Lonzo Ball, and LeVar can say everything he wants about, changing the culture. It's like changing the culture. It's like
16 world championships.
Yeah, shut down. Lock it up, LeVar. Lonzo needs to get better, and Brooke needs to kind of carry this team.
I mean, the first game, the first thing I thought is, after halftime, they're like, let him shoot the ball. We're gonna guard him more and defend him more for the pass than we are the shot.
Yeah.
And it was almost like they figured him out in the first half. Like, he was scared to shoot, right? And then he kind of lightened up. And then the next game, he got a little bit more aggressive.
He was scared when he released it. I don't think he was afraid to shoot. 2 for 15. He did have, and he shot 11 3-pointers. Yeah. So, I mean,
exactly.
Was it more, though, in the second half than it was the first half?
No, I think it was equal. I think it was about equal. Okay. The thing that I noticed when I was watching is that he just, 11 of his 15 shots were 3-pointers.
Yeah.
It's like, you've got to. He was in the lane.
Open. He was in the
lane.
And
it's like
dishing instead of going
finish the shot.
Yeah.
Finish.
And I guarantee you,
rim.
Magic's pulling him aside and going, "You go to the hole.
Yeah.
Go get fouled.
You get there, do something." And that's the other thing that I think Laker fans. You know how many free throws he shot in the game in his first game? Zero. You know how many he shot in the second game? Zero. If you're at the hole, finish.
Go.
Draw the foul.
Right.
Get to the line. Yep.
You've got to.
Yep.
You've got to. And he's, to me, that's going to improve. He's very skilled, terrific. There's no disputing the fact that he is a terrific passer. Will he be able to finish at the rim, hit a few 3-pointers to stretch the defense? That's what we need to see.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be very happy if this team won 35 games.
I'd be ecstatic.
If they improved by 10 games? Absolutely.
Terrific.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Terrific. Okay, guys, I think that'll do it. I want to before we take off, I want to remind people, be like Dave, give us a call, be on the show, and we'll play it back, we'll comment on it, and love to hear from you. So until next time, we are out.
Good night.
Peace.